Welcome back. Today we're building the Babytooth by FPV Cycle. This is the 2mm variant of their frame. I'm using the 1202.5 11,500 kV motors by FPV Cycle. And for the flight controller, the 1S all-in-one with the Crossfire Micro RX and the TBS Pro 32. To start things off, I'll take two of the shorter M2 bolts that came with the motors, thread those up through the frame into the motor, get both threaded before you snug them down. Repeat this process for all four. Once that's done, take 3 of the longer bolts, 1 shorter one, and 4 nylon nuts. And thread them up through the frame. Doesn't matter where they go because the frame is symmetrical. And put a nylon nut on the other side and tighten that down. Repeat this process for all four. Now put a rubber grommet over each corner of the flight controller with the larger part facing up. Make sure these jumpers are connected if you're using the Crossfire RX. And slide the 1S all-in-one over the bolts. Cut roughly 4mm off of the motor connector. And repeat this for all four. Strip and tin them. Now tin the motor pads. And solder the wires to each motor. Next up, I'll take my camera and solder 5 volts, video, and ground to it. Then just slide it into the canopy. And next you can solder the XT30 to the flight controller. Positive is on the right and ground is on the left. Next, we can solder our camera to the flight controller. From left to right, it will be video, 5 volts, and ground. I'll take my multimeter, set it to the continuity, and check all the major connections for any shorts. I'll check my XT30 and check between 5 volts and ground. Once we're sure that there's no shorts, I can plug in a battery, make sure there's lights on the flight controller, the RX, and the VTX. That looks good to me, so I'll turn on my transmitter. Long press the menu button, go into Crossfire Config, go into our micro TX, go one down, hit bind, and since our RX is new, it should go straight into binding mode. Hit enter, and the receiver will start to update. In the meantime, I can check for video. At this point, the RX will load. Don't unplug it. Go back into the RX setup. I'll use Crossfire Shot. And then just file down the holes for the canopy, and this helps it slide over the screws a bit better. Then I like to cut off the side two protectors of the canopy. This is optional. Finally, for the Betaflight configuration, go into the setup, set your board on a level surface, calibrate the accelerometer. In the ports tab, on UART1, set TBS Smart Audio, save and reboot. Copy these settings for the VTX table into the CLI. Type save, hit enter. Next, in the configuration, I'll set my motor direction to be reversed. Motor protocol to DShot 600. Set my PID loop to 8K. Arm angle to 180 degrees. Make sure it's crossfire. And turn these off for the beeper if you'd like. Save and reboot. In power and battery, I'll use these settings. And that's it for the Betaflight configuration. So now we'll button everything up by sliding some heat shrink over the VTX and the RX and shrink those both down. Next, I'll take a piece of half electrical tape and wrap it over the motor wires. Repeat this for all four. And do the same for the crossfire antenna. I can slip the VTX antenna under this rubber band. You don't have to do it this way if you don't want to. Next, take a large 55mm rubber band, wrap it over the back two motors. Pull the back over, twist in towards you, wrap it over the top motor. Then pull on the bottom section and twist out away from you and wrap it over the bottom motor. And that's going to be a great way to secure your battery. So that's it for this build. We can just slap some props on and the build is done. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.